I want to ask you about something that has been something a lot of listeners have sent in questions about over the last day. The news that broke that Bob Miller, better known as obviously Butch Miller, Bushwhacker Butch, Sheepherder Butch, has passed away.
Yeah, and it was really sad because I guess this was the first time that he had been to the United States since what, 2015, I think somebody said, and he was coming over for, or did come over for, the Wrestling Fan Fest, events over WrestleMania weekend, and was going to be, back together with Luke. And I still don't know what the cause of it was, but he had some health emergency, I guess, pretty much right after he got to California and was hospitalized. And then we just heard he passed away. And what a nice guy. And I mean, both of them, Luke and Butch, both just great guys and nice guys and fun to have in the locker room, and, old pros in the best sense of the word. And the first sheep herders that I got to know in person were Luke Williams and Jonathan Boyd, because that's a period of time. I can't remember why Jonathan stepped into the team. Butch may have been injured or whatever the case, but for a couple of years there, Jonathan, who was the grumpy one, Jonathan Boyd was not a happy-go-lucky, smiling guy. And so Luke stood out even more as being the cool one, right, of the bunch. But Luke and Butch had been the primary team. They'd started out together, I guess, in the 60s. And they were the Kiwis first, right? The first gimmick they had that we would know in the United States.
Yeah, I think so.
Because of course, Kiwi is, an Australiander, New Zealander type of thing.
In Stampede, they were the Kiwis.
Yes. And, they wrestled through the mid-70s as the Kiwis, and then became, I guess, later part of the decade, the New Zealand Sheepherders for a while. And I mean, at the time when they were young, remember Luke Williams with that fucking face? He was Sweet William. Remember that when he was younger? And I think Butch also, did he not wrestle as Crazy Nick at one point? Crazy Nick Carter?
Maybe. He had a few names. It's always weird when you see pictures of them with those faces but long hair.
Yes, and they had huge fucking flowing long hair. And Jonathan Boyd did too. When Jonathan Boyd was a member of the Royal Kangaroos with Norman Frederick Charles III, they had long hair also. And then everybody ended up pretty much going bald. But anyway, but no, Luke and Butch, just great guys. They had the tremendous run there with the Fantastics in Mid-South, where they had all those crazy barbed wire matches and everything. And they were like, at that point, really a hardcore team before there was any ECW or hardcore or anything. And then that's why it was such a rib amongst the boys that these bloodthirsty, savage, wild, crazy maniacs go to work for Vince and become the beloved, bushwhackers licking kids' faces. It was hilarious. But, they made more money with that gimmick than they did doing anything else. And they were already fucking their 40s at that point. So, I feel bad that, it happened at all, but especially when, he had just come back after all this time and was going to get to do some of the Fan Fest appearances and spend some time with Luke. So I hate to hear about that. They were great guys, even if the Bushwhackers were not necessarily the favorite team of the hardcores at the time, but that was kind of like their pension, their retirement, because they had been a fantastic team, before that and done all that crazy shit. So it was good they got a spot where they could be remembered and didn't have to cut their heads off all the time.